hello all. And so today I have the pleasure of being with Dr. Michelle Jeffries, and Dr. Jeffries is a personal friend of mine. I haven't talked with you in a long time, so I'm so excited that you're here. So brief bio on Dr. Jeffries. Dr. Michelle Jeffries is a board-certified dermatologist and has additional board certifications in pediatric dermatology and integrative medicine, and you also have a master's degree in psychology. So one of my nerdier friends, I will say, which I'm very proud of saying that. And really, honestly, Dr. Jeffries, you're so committed to just a life of learning, which I think is awesome. And even when you were young, I was reading in a bio online that you used to sit with an encyclopedia of the human body on your lap and watch cartoons, which I think is so awesome and a testament to just how curious you were. You found yourself eager to learn how the human body worked at a very early age, and really that you were destined to be a doctor. So as many are, Dr. Jeffries, your trajectory was influenced really by, some loss, some personal struggle, and you speak to that a lot online in your content. Dr. Jeffries has a beautiful skill of experiencing what life has to offer and then quickly implementing its lessons. She learns and applies, and then learns more and applies and learns more. It's just like this constant cycle, which I think is beautiful. And this constant curiosity ultimately led her to the most recent specialty of integrative medicine, which is what you're really focusing on now. So she finds that this blend of modalities creates a holistic perspective that not only has allowed her to really address her own health concerns, but it also is something she employs as her approach to her patients. So she now practices with an approach to skin health called Integrative Dermatology. And her holistic approach to skincare includes mind, body, spirit, and skincare, which I love. So she loves to get to know her patients and truly helps people be beautiful inside and out. So thank you very much for being here today. I'm super excited to just dive into everything you have to share with us.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Beardsley, thank you so much. That was just so touching, and it's so good to see you. And it's an honor to be part of this. And part of what you're creating here. I'm just so excited of the approach that you're taking and what you're offering to people. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, tell me, so we gave a brief background of what led you to where you are today, but any additional background information about your personal health journey, what you want to discuss as far as what brought you into like the health and wellness field?
Yeah, I mean, I think you did a great summary. I started out really nerdy as a kid, doing, things that most kids don't do, looking at the encyclopedia as a kid. And, then I transitioned a little bit on my journey. Like you said, I went into psychology instead of medicine. And the reason for that was I dealt with some challenges. I had a grandmother that passed that was like a mother to me. She helped raise me and had a big role in my life. And then soon after that, I had a high school sweetheart pass. And so with all of that, I decided, well, I couldn't do medicine. I had to do something else. I went into psychology instead. And I didn't realize at the time that I'd be using that later in my journey. And just like you said, I went into medicine. That kind of dream of becoming a doctor never died. And so I changed again and went into medicine. And my skincare journey was a little bit different. As I was going through medicine, I realized I was struggling with a lot of skin issues, even in medical school. I was breaking out with acne. I was getting hives. I was, struggling with moles that had to be looked at. And I thought for sure that if I was going to be involved in skincare as a dermatologist, I could only see adults. And it wasn't until I realized that I could see kids and do pediatric dermatology and do both that all came together of blending in the pediatric dermatology component with the regular dermatology component. Yeah. And then the last piece, gosh, I ended up graduating from all of those things and accomplishing all of that. And I had a ton of health issues. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to give advice to people medically when I have my own health issues I can't figure out? Yeah. And that was when I transitioned into integrative medicine. And like you said, that journey just kept going. As soon as I learned integrative medicine, then I wanted to learn about functional medicine. And I was experimenting on myself, but I really wanted to know about how I could involve patients and treat patients from a holistic way. So that was how I trained in all of the other things that I do. And I just keep going, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you described it really well and did a great summary of all of that.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's how a lot of us can continue to improve. It's, we learn, we grow, and we get to a plateau, and then just like continue to explore and to investigate and to allow for whatever obstacles we have in our way to be learning lessons, to let us just, explore and dive into and learn from. So I really think your curiosity has allowed for you to be like what you are today, and it will continue to push you to be just better and better for yourself and for your patients. So that's one trait I feel is such a powerhouse for you, which is awesome. And
Thank you.
so do you feel like, is that something that you recognize maybe with clients that you work with? Do you try to kind of tease that out in people, like the curiosity, the learning, the education piece?
Oh, absolutely. I think, a lot of people come to me because they have a skin issue that everybody can see. And so it's right there on the surface. And it can be, just so embarrassing for people to have a flaw that they see as a flaw visual to somebody
Mhm.
else. And so what I see it as is it's a lesson of the internal journey of how you're dealing with that, how you're coping with that, and finding your way of healing inside and out to heal your perspective, your mindset on it, but also to heal your skin and your overall health and any other signals that it might be giving you. And it's all unique. It's not like
Mhm.
there's a cookie cutter thing, like everybody needs this magic cream or everybody needs this magic nutrition program to heal their skin. Everybody's so different. Everybody comes from a different journey and a different pattern and a different history. So it's making patients curious about, well, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Where can I go from here? What's next? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And to hear that from a dermatologist, I think that's so powerful because it's true. I mean, so often when we have something on the surface, it is the topical application. There's not a lot
Mhm.
of like diving inside and really considering even mindset or beliefs or habits, different things that can be contributing. So that's a very unique thing. How is has that been challenging to kind of communicate to? I'm certain your audience is familiar with your message, but tell me, has there been a little like resistance with just common individuals and talking about that?
Not really.
All
I
right.
think most people are curious. They want to know like what they can do. I think a lot of people right now are very proactive in their health
Yeah.
and wanting answers of like, gosh, how did this happen? What can I do?
Hmm.
Um, I would say, the friction does come when you get to the deeper things of
Hmm.
like changing mindset, changing habits, changing patterns. Those are hard to do for all of us, myself included. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not easy to change the way that you eat on a regular basis. Your temptations to eat things that taste good that maybe aren't healthy for you, it's going to
Hmm.
be there. So that's, I think, where the friction comes in. And I think that's a common thing. I think sometimes people are surprised by my answers of, hey, but you could also, do these other things too. And
Hmm.
I think they're surprised and welcomed to hear something fresh, something new, something
Yeah.
different, something that they can do that's not dependent on someone else too.
Yeah, you're empowering people. You're providing them
Right.
with the tools to allow for the success, not just while they're working for you then and now, but to like carry that on, which is so
Hmm.
wonderful. Um, and the skin, like you're saying, is such a reflection. And often is what will get us to pay attention, right? Just like
Right.
the reality of the vanity that we have, but it does, it gets our attention, and it can
Hmm.
be a really important indicator of, something needs to be looked at. So I think
Hmm.
that's a great surprise to offer people is, let's
Hmm.
look a little deeper. Any other like traits or any other characteristics that you work with people that you recognize as helpful in their journey?
Yeah, I think something that also will help them is realizing that it's happening for them and
Hmm.
to have an optimistic look on things instead of feeling like something's happening to them.
Hmm.
And I think that could be transferred not only to skin but to all aspects of our lives, and just having that foundational understanding of, you know what, I'm going to be optimistic about this. This is happening for me, and there's going to be an outcome that's going to work out for the best.
Hmm.
And that I do have some control in what I'm going to do next, and it's all good. And so that optimistic outlook, I think, really promotes their resiliency
Hmm.
and how they handle their skin issue, and then other parts of their life as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not just, I mean, we can limit it and compartmentalize to skin or to myself. I focus so much on autoimmune or thyroid, but whatever
Hmm.
we're providing whatever traits and characteristics that we're wanting to cultivate. It can kind of go just across the board everywhere. So is there anything that you're communicating like a little differently now, kind of in this current crisis? Is there any message that you feel you're like revisiting or speaking more loudly about with your audience now?
Yeah, a lot of our work right now has been transferred to televisits, and so it's visits just
Yeah.
like this. And most of the beginning of the visit is, how are you? How are you doing? How are you handling things? What's going on in your life? And this has impacted everybody,
Mhm.
and it's like a universal thing. So what I've been trying to do is serve as a catalyst to guide through some of these mindset shifts to help people move a little bit away from the fear that they
Mhm.
might be experiencing, which is very, very real. And then maybe using that to transition into empowering them a little bit more. And then giving them a little bit, which I think we all are having to do, is be uncomfortable with uncertainty and
Mhm.
just knowing we don't know what's going to happen next. There are a lot of unknowns. We're finding out some things that we know, but this was a time where a lot of physicians didn't have answers.
Mhm.
A lot of people that we viewed as an authoritative, like, oh my gosh, well, they must know what's going on, don't have the answers. And so just kind of building that kind of comfort with the uncertainty and knowing it's going to be okay, and kind of shifting. And the way that I do that is just realizing it's always been uncertain. There's uncertainty's been here all along.
Yeah.
It's not something new. There's always been some level of uncertainty. It's just like right here in our face, for all of us right now. You can't avoid it. You can't turn away from it. And that we're all in it together too, that it's building a sense of community. And we're all experiencing the fear. We're all having financial dropouts.
Yeah.
We're all scared about some things. And just knowing that we're all in this together, that there's a sense of community. So
Yeah.
a lot of the visits just start out with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not something that's new to you. I mean, when you're practicing from like an integrative approach, I feel like a lot of what is, the mainstream right now, you've been doing for the long
Mhm.
term. So it's just kind of tapping into what are these practices so that we can do more of that and just gain ground during this time so that we can come out of all of this more resilient and stronger and more confident and feeling empowered. So yeah, that's interesting though, that it tends to be just this out the gates, the starting point with people, because
Mhm.
it's like, how are you?
Yeah.
That's really important. Yeah. Has the virtual care, has there been any like sense of disconnect with that? How has that transition been with seeing patients this way?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I think might come out of this is just having a sense of gratitude for in-person visits
Yeah.
and being able to see and connect with people. It's nice, it's convenient to be able to do something, online and still engage on some level. And so there's a level of gratitude for that. Um, but, and the accessibility of having healthcare. But I think in the end, it's going to be a deeper appreciation of, gosh, always, when can I come into the office? When can I come in?
Yeah.
And we are, still open for urgent and emergent things, but if it's just a small thing and it's just a routine thing, we're discouraged in coming in right now.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of friction of like, gosh, I just really appreciated just coming in, and, and I hug my patients. And so, that's hard too, for me as well, to be like, oh, I can see you, but I can't give you a hug. And, it's all virtual right now. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a gratitude for in-person communications and that too.
Yeah, we realize what we have once it's gone and how,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
our old normal was, there was a lot of good with all that, even though it took a drive to get to a visit. It like being there is something to that. So
Mhm.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
I'm missing a lot of my patients too.
Yeah.
But well, so tell us, I'm skipping back a little bit back to the holistic approach to skincare. I just love like the mind, body, spirit skincare. Can you speak to like developing that a bit and maybe what that looks like when you work with people?
Yeah, I think unlike most skincare, I don't just focus on the outside and what your skin looks like and how to fix it with just a magic cream.
Mhm.
It's more about an understanding of the inside and the outside dynamics and how they kind of work together. I don't think it's all outside; it's all inside. It's that blend of putting that together, and also just knowing that blend's unique depending on where you're at in your health journey. So
Mhm.
there might be times when you come into a traditional medicine office and you're pretty far along in your disease process of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you do need some prescription medications and some interventions there while we kind of backtrack and then do, some baseline health integrations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you're coming in preventatively early on everything, you don't necessarily have something to pinpoint as a huge problem right now, but you see yourself trending a certain way, you may not need any prescriptions. It may just be like, how can I tweak my nutrition? How can I tweak my skincare? What kinds of things, lifestyle can I do? And so most people that see me are kind of on the end, and they're having some,
Yeah.
things that they can see on their skin. And I mean, I don't know, for you too, you might see people at that whole spectrum as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, there is. And that's nice to know that there's a spectrum, right? There's the
mhm,
whole illness to wellness. And really, what I love to hear is that it's not just the resolution of symptoms and then you're done, right?
right,
It's like,
right.
okay, now my skin's clear. What can I do to
Hmm.
continue on this journey and to be healthier and to prevent that, from coming back? So there's a whole spectrum, and there's so much beyond
Hmm.
just getting those symptoms to clear up.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's a journey that it's fun. It's fun when we get people there, right?
Yes,
To just start
it is.
to build. So that's the
Yeah.
exciting part. It's the art of it, but it's a lot of fun when you get there. Yeah.
I think that the next thing that probably gives me the most joy is like when they come in and they get that
Yeah.
and they're able to say like, oh my gosh, it was working for me. And then they take it to a whole nother level, like, and I was able to help someone else with it. And
Mm,
so if someone's able to use the tools that they've had, either their set shifts or how they think about things, and able to share it with a friend or a family member and help seed that kind of that root of something changing in someone else too and passing it on, I
mhm,
think that is just even makes me more excited about things like that, that it's something that can be shared and
mhm.
something that they can also bring to somebody else too. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and I think there's so much around community right now. And I feel like we're all
mhm,
really sharing and expanding and feeling that we are kind of one in this. So that's a cool, I hadn't thought about that, but
mhm,
what an incredible feeling to have, to know you affected one, and then that can just echo into their family
mhm,
and their community, etc. So yeah, that's great.
mhm.
So from a practice standpoint, are there any specific things that you do on a daily basis that allow for you to be your healthy, optimal self?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it really starts out when I think about it, I have to love myself and take care of myself first, not in an egotistical way, but in a way of self-love and deciding that if I'm going to be able to give to somebody else what I have to offer, I have to nourish myself first, and I have to do it in all those ways, in my mind, in my body, my spirit, my skin, all of that.
Hmm.
Um, and so, starting out with that foundation, and in a health related fields, we're all about giving and doing whatever we can to help somebody else. And a lot of times, a lot of healthcare providers will get out of balance with
Yeah.
that. So it's recognizing and prioritizing being able to realign yourself when you are out of balance.
Mm.
And that takes a lot of skill, because usually we're far down on the giving part and
Yeah.
not taking care of ourselves. And so that would just be the foundation of, what am I doing to love myself and take care of myself first so that I can.
Hmm.
So that would be, the first and foremost thing.
Is
Not
that like
easy to do.
oh no, no, I was going to ask you, like, what is that, a check-in, or how, like, do you have specific actionable steps to doing that? Cause it is a really hard thing to do.
you know um I try to meditate, eat
Yeah.
well, exercise, do all those things. And when I start to notice that my daily routine, if I start to tell myself, oh, I don't have time to meditate today, oh, I don't have time to work out today, oh, I just need something really quick to eat because I'm too busy,
Mm.
those are my signals of like, oh, actually no, you need to take a step back and
Yeah.
realign yourself. So it's subtle, and it builds. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, but today I just don't have time for that. And then all of a sudden it's like a week. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't done any of my self-care things in a week,
Hmm.
and then it just builds. So it's catching yourself and oscillating. And, of course, there's going to be times where you're going to be out of sync with everything, and you're going to have to kind of ramp things up, and you might be out of sync for a little bit, but you got to bring it back. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I feel like again, a uniqueness to what's going on now is this opportunity to rewrite kind of what's normal for us. Right. And to be really in creator mode of what we want our lives to be. And
Mm-hmm.
that can be overwhelming, but it can also be really exciting. So putting into
Yeah.
place some practices that are helpful to getting that dialed in, so that again, once this starts to get back to the global normal, we'll be leveled up and able to be more resilient. So yeah, self-love's huge. I think that just echoes into so much of what we do. Any other practices you have that you do?
It's funny because you already picked up on them, and you already
I love
mentioned
it.
them, which is funny. When I think about it, the things that I do is just being optimistic and always trying to
Yeah.
see the good and
Yeah.
seeing that things are working for you. But also just one of the things I always do is I'm always learning and growing
Yeah.
and keeping my mind open to evolve to new levels. And I actively kind of search of new ways to think, new ways to look at things, new information, reading different books, going to different conferences, listening to audiobooks, podcasts. Um, and what's really interesting, what I've noticed about myself is when I'm very resistant to a new thought, I'm like,
Hmm.
gosh, that's just so out there. That's just so weird. I don't know how they could think that. And I have a lot of resistance. It actually is a sign for me that I actually probably need to listen to it, that it's
Hmm.
so contrasting to my current belief system that I'm judging it and blocking it. And I need to kind of take that nudge of resistance to open
Hmm.
and to be open to that and kind of more opening and accepting of that and seeing a different perspective. And I think that's how we grow and learn, and we're able to gather information and see what works for us. So when you feel that resistance, kind of like,
Hmm.
okay, I actually need to open when I feel that resistance instead of close it off and just say, no, 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 I can't do that. That's not okay.
Yeah, that's huge. That's great, because I know, if I feel like so much of us can knee jerk judge,
Mm-hmm.
and without knowing, be it social media or whatever, scrolling through, just had that like instantaneous judgment. So to hear it as a possible learning opportunity is that's unique. I love it. I'm gonna use that, because it's just such a thing that I'm sure we all face on a regular basis throughout our day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Nice.
especially with all the theories of like what's happening, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of theories about how this infects our cells, how it works, how it impacts our body. There's a lot of stuff we don't know, and so when you listen to a new theory about it, like, oh no, no, that can't be true. But then you want to think, well, maybe it can, or maybe that's one piece that locks into some other things, and
Yeah.
just kind of keeping an open mind about all of that. And I think it also helps us kind of open to take a step back, release like what we're thinking, and kind of start fresh on what we could do, and then envelope in what we've learned from the past, or what's coming in now, and kind of pivot and then change direction, and then take steps forward of doing that. So it's kind of a building and learning and growing. I think we're all learning and growing
Hmm.
right now, hugely. So.
Yeah. Well, and we can be, and that's, I think, the message that we want to share is we really can be. This does not have to be like a limiting, suffocating time that we just have to tolerate and survive. It's such
Mhm.
a neat place to be, to dive in and learn and grow. So to I don't know, to be doing that yourself and to be communicating that to your patients is just huge. And again, something you've been doing all along, but even more powerfully now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for sharing those, I think, insightful, just like different means of ways of looking at things. Because and I feel like from on your social page and just different messages that you put out there, this is a pretty constant message overall. I read it and I follow all that you're putting out there. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, yeah. Any other I don't know, unique message that you are communicating, be it now or in general, to your audience?
Yeah, I think I went through the whole phase of this, as many of us are going through, of kind of disbelief that it was happening at first,
Hmm.
like thinking everybody was just like worrying too much, and they're just fear-based and not being helpful, to think this is going to take off. And this was probably in like January of this year, and now it's April. And obviously a lot of cities are with shelter in place, and we've seen this kind of evolve into a huge pandemic.
Hmm.
And so I went through all those phases of like, oh my gosh, I'm not working as much. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my life, my lifestyle? You know, am I going to be able to take care of myself? Am I going to take care of my loved one? You know, all of those fears kind of came up. And then there just had to be a level of like surrender. Like you just had no choice. Like you just have to take a step back and surrender to it. And then when I did, I realized it was all like on pause. Like life
Mm-hmm.
was on pause, but not just for me, for everyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
not just my block I live on, not just my city, not just my town, not just my state, and not just this country, but multiple countries and how big this was. And then I kind of thought about that. I'm like, wow, this is like all in synchrony. There's
Mm-hmm.
something to this. This is big. We're all being asked, like never have we ever all been asked not to work, to stay
Mm-hmm.
home, to take a pause. And so, you know, I started bridging that to all different areas of the life of where there is like a contraction happening, where we're all just kind of coming in and we're gathering and we're gathering and we're internal and we're kind of contracting down and gathering ourselves, and we're being asked to kind of contract down. We're contracting down our finances. We're, you know,
Mm-hmm.
contracting down where we're going, what we're doing, we're contracting. And then what happens in response to that, just like breathing, when your lungs kind of breathe and you kind of breathe in and then you take a big breath out, you expand, and then you bring it back in and you contract. And it's just this cycle of contraction and expansion. And so right now we're just in a big contraction where we're able to pause, gather before we expand. And that also goes into all of the cycles of life
Mm-hmm.
of creation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cycle of creating something, and then it's sustained for a period of time. And then we release that and we pause and we evaluate, and then we create again. And then we sustain that, and then we pause and evaluate and then create again. And so we're just all, this is big, this is something huge that we're
Mm-hmm.
all doing, and we can all reconfigure, we can all begin again and engage again. And so I think just taking this time to take a step back and like, what is it that I want? What
Mm-hmm.
I'm pausing, I can evaluate my whole life. I have time, I have openness. I can choose. I can decide, okay, this is how I want to live my life moving forward. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then actively, once things get moving, there'll be a nudge to go ahead and create that and put that into place and expand out into that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what came to me about this synchronous pause that's happening.
Yeah. It's almost comforting to think that we're sharing it, right? That we're
Mm-hmm.
all in this together, and that we can almost draw from each other the energy or the support or whatever we need to, when we do expand, to allow for that
Mm-hmm.
to be really powerful and impactful in our lives. So yeah, there's like
Mm-hmm.
a, I don't know, I felt comforted by that concept for
Good.
sure. Yeah, no, I love that. And
Good.
it is just such an incredibly unique in this lifetime, if in, you know, multiple lifetimes of when will this be again. So to be
Mm-hmm.
able to draw benefit from that and allow for ourselves to prioritize and just really figure out what we want our lives to be about and to include.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, a lot of prioritization is around health right now. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are realizing how important that is, and you know, the immeasurable benefit of putting some energy into that. So from like a holistic standpoint. Yeah. So thank you for sharing
Mm-hmm.
all that. Any other kind of tidbits or anything that you want to, or that you'd have available for our audience for listening today, just from your toolbox?
Yeah, actually, the kind of my take on the synchronous pause.
Yeah.
I have that coming in a blog post and also a newsletter.
Awesome.
So if you go to my website, and which will be in the links for this, you can sign up and get that. If you're listening to this down the road, it'll probably already be on my blogs. So you can just go to my website and find it. But if you want to get it before, you know, when it first comes out and get notification, get on the email list. And then a couple of just, you know, practical things that I was thinking about sharing right now is, you know, what are some practical things people can do right now
Mm-hmm.
with their skin and with their health? And so I put together kind of a little package that has 3 things in it. One is just an immune-friendly eating plan of, you know, different foods that are going to help your immune system. It's going to be things that are probably in the stores that are fresh, that aren't canned or frozen. They're going to
Yeah.
be in the fresh organic aisles. They're not going to be the packaged, you know, things that are out of stock right now. And next, you know, just some different supplements that you can take to, you know, for your skin and your body, for everything. And then just very much so related to skin. And right now is just how do you take care of your skin in the age of all these disinfectants? We are
Yes.
cleaning things like crazy. And what's ending up happening is we're breaking down our skin barriers. And how do we repair those? And how do we make sure our skin stays intact and keep it healthy and keep the microbiome of the skin, intact as well. So those will be the three things in the download associated with this. So
Yeah, there's definitely an excess of cleaning. And even in my
yes,
household, I've said yes to Clorox and just different things that I really don't keep in my regimen of cleaning at all, but out of fear of just wanting to knock everything out. Yeah, there's been a lot
yep.
of that. So, oh, very cool. Okay, so that will be nice to know that we can still have some TLC for our skin while we're keeping ourselves protected. Yeah, yeah, wonderful.
Uh-huh.
And it's good to have practical tips because there is a lot that we can do right now. I know a lot of my patients are fearful of you know, limited access to supplements and different things. But beyond that, foods and different practices that we can put into place to protect ourselves and to benefit our health for the long term. So thank you for putting those together for
Of
all
course.
of us. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
really, I'm so thrilled to have you here today. And I think, focusing on overall health, but also beauty inside out. I mean, that's just something that it needs to be, continues to be important to all of us. So I really encourage you all to check out Dr. Jeffries' website. You have a ton of great resources on there too, and supplement access on there, which is super easy to tap
Mhm.
into. So yeah, thank you. Any other closing remarks? I want to make sure I get every ounce of wisdom from you as possible, but thank you. Yeah.
No, just thank you so much. And I would just like to encourage everybody to really realize the power of this moment and take it to your advantage. Realize what this is going to do for you and what are you going to create? What's the possibility that's before you? And embrace that and move forward with that. Not to minimize or not be compassionate about all of the struggles that are
Yeah.
associated with it. There's some very, very real struggles for lots of us. But just how are you going to pivot? How are you going to make this for your own good and for the good of your family? And so looking at it that way and just doing that little shift will help. So
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very
yeah,
much. And yeah, I look forward when this all comes out to hear from you more. Thank you.
thank you.